When it comes to an SAP rollout, obviously there is so much data that is going on and there's so many processes that are being moved over. So what exactly is the importance of properly doing an SAP rollout? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that someone doesn't take as much meticulous time as you guys do in your templates and your rollouts and so forth. So what exactly are the potential costs that could arise from that situation? I remember once you talked about it as a quote unquote two-headed beast, if that helps.
No, I think that if you refer to the cost of missing deadline or the cost of failure, if that's what you refer to, in fact, the cost of delay, when you talk about any ERP project, whatever, if it's SAP, as a matter of fact, any ERP, once you start missing deadlines, and if the projects start getting longer than planned for whatever the reason, it's extremely costly for many reasons. First of all, the obvious one, you may have on the task 10, 20, 50 people. You've got the business involved, you've got IT, you've got consultants, you've got a small army here working on your project. And if suddenly, for whatever the reason, you're forced to add another 3-4 months on a project, at the end, it's very simple. You're going to have to keep and pay this small army 3-4 months longer. So if your burn rate is $500,000 a month, when you just add 4 months, here it goes. You just went out a couple of millions because of the size of the task. If you start delaying, you cannot dissolve the team. You cannot just send people back to their regular day-to-day work. You need to finish the job. Extending the deadline just to keep the team up and running is a significant cost. And not counting also the flip side is the benefits. Any benefits that you were hoping to get by reducing your number of ERP from 5 to 4, or reducing the total cost of ownership. So whatever benefits you were hoping to get obviously will be delayed by the same amount of time. So you get short on your benefits and you get the sticker shock because you need to go for a longer period with the same or a bit lower burn rate on your projects. It's a costly proposition. So that's why for us, we make a point to work extremely hard with the team and the client to end up being what we call on time, on spec, and on budget. I think it's fundamental to achieve those goals on any project. This is the golden rule. We're going to be on time, on spec, and on budget. At the end of the day, this is project management 101.
I know you guys also do like consulting for various businesses and so forth. So just out of curiosity, have you ever consulted a company that was in that nightmare scenario in which it's like they did an SAP rollout, but they still have 2 different ERPs? I think you guys often refer to it in-house as the two-headed dragon. Have you ever dealt with companies like that? And if so, what exactly are some words of advice in order to like deal with that huge headache?
We have seen, we do situation on occasion where corporation migrate to a new ERP, SAP, for example, and for some reason, they end up keeping, what we like to say, they end up keeping alive the old ERP for historical data reason, for statistics, for legal, there might be many reasons why a corporation might be tempted to keep the old ERP alive even after the new one has been in production. My advice to them is, even though it looks like a temporary situation, the big risk is always the same. And I like to tell those corporations that there's nothing more permanent than a temporary situation. So meaning once you get into the motion of keeping, the old ERP for a while, the pitfall or the risk might be it is still there a year, 2 years later. So I think to me, every effort must be made to bite the bullet and unplug the old ERP. There is ways around that. We can assist the client with that. There's always workaround available that might not be seems optimal up front, but at the end of the day, these are much better than most of the time trying to keep the old ERP alive for small business needs. It's a big price tag to cover small business needs. So my advice to the situation is let's take a step back, and the sooner you could unplug the old ERP, the better. And typical planning normally drive you to unplug the old ERP after 1 month end, one financial month end or two. You are now in a situation where the old ERP is officially unplugged. It's gone.
Yeah. And obviously it's like when a plant isn't working efficiently, it's not only is it like, okay, you have to hire people to fix the problem. Obviously, there's a lot more cost because people have to learn 2 different platforms. And not only that, potentially speaking, if a plant doesn't run well, that means you're also getting screwed in terms of the revenue because you're not making the product to sell.
Correct. On the revenue side, typically, there's not much of an impact for a simple reason. I think unless something really goes bad in your ERP rollout, typically the sales cycle shouldn't be affected at all. So the last thing you want is because you got a new ERP, suddenly you're losing sales or your client are slowing down, giving you sales or sending you POs. So it is probably the worst case scenario. As you roll out an ERP, you want your clients to be on, I would say, to feel like there is zero impact. For them, it has to be a non-event. They were ordering from you parts or services or whatever they were buying from a corporation. For them, it has to be totally seamless, where it was a non-event. We'd still order our material. We still get the order on time. If anything, they should be improvement. They should see that, wow, it's been better, faster. They should see some positive impact. The worst case is suddenly it takes longer to process an order because you're an SAP or another ERP. Then this is where it gets much more stressful, because you put yourself in a situation where you're impacting your client, meaning they see that those guys are having trouble to process my order. So it's not a warm and fuzzy feeling. So I think you have to take all means the day of the rollout to make sure that your clients will only see a good experience. Either they're going to see no blimp at all, it was a non-event, and maybe even a bit better if they see that, wow, this is better, we get better response. They either can see better things or status quo, but it cannot go backwards.